It was a late summer afternoon when the sky held that orange and gold glow that feels like it's hesitating between day and night. In a quiet neighborhood on the edge of the city, the streets were calm, the air warm, and the sound of distant traffic soft enough to feel peaceful. This was the kind of hour when people tended to go home, rest, and prepare for the next day. But for Lucas, a 24-year-old with an endless love for video games, this hour meant only one thing: his daily walk to clear his mind before starting his evening gaming session. Lucas lived in a small rented flat, nothing extravagant, but filled with energy. Posters of games on the walls, headphones hanging on a hook, and a desk scattered with controllers. His world was digital adventures and online matches. Real-world friendships came slowly to him. He didn't push people away, but he didn't know how to pull them closer either. Gaming was where he felt confident, where he felt like himself. That's why he loved this walk. It prepared his thoughts, let him imagine new strategies, and helped him step into his room later as if entering another universe. Today, however, this walk would change something in his life in a way he didn't expect. As he walked past a row of houses, each with small, neatly kept gardens, he noticed someone sitting on a porch, leaning back in a wooden chair. An older man, maybe in his late 40s, with gentle eyes behind rectangular glasses and a book resting half open in his hand. His name was Michael, though Lucas didn't know it yet. Michael wasn't someone people immediately noticed. He had the calm presence of someone who had lived through enough life to no longer rush. His hair was peppered with gray, his beard neatly trimmed, and his expression thoughtful. Many in the neighborhood knew him as the quiet man who works from home. But very few knew much beyond that. When Lucas passed by, he didn't expect the man to look up, but he did. Their eyes met. A small, polite nod from Michael. Lucas hesitated but returned the nod with a shy half-smile. It wasn't unusual for strangers to greet each other, but something about this moment felt different. Maybe it was because Michael's gaze wasn't cold or distant. It was warm, curious even, like he was genuinely noticing him, not just acknowledging a passerby. "Evening," Michael said gently, closing his book just enough to mark the page with his thumb. "Evening," Lucas replied, automatically slowing his steps. "You walk this way often," Michael said, not in a way that felt intrusive, simply observant. Lucas nodded. "Yeah. Helps me think." "Thinking is a good habit," Michael said with a faint smile. "Many people forget to do that." Lucas laughed softly. "Mostly I think about, well, games." Michael tilted his head. "Games?" "Video games," Lucas clarified. "I'm always playing something new." There was something charming about the way Lucas said it, not proudly, not defensively, just honestly. As if gaming wasn't just a hobby, but a part of who he was. Michael's expression warmed. "I see. I used to play games when I was younger. Not very good at them, though." Lucas's eyes brightened with amusement. "Everyone starts somewhere. It just takes practice." "I suppose so," Michael said, studying him for a moment. He could see the youthful spark in Lucas. The energy, the enthusiasm, the way his eyes glowed when talking about something he loved. It stirred a quiet fondness in him he hadn't felt in a long time. There was a brief silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of pause that invites the next piece of conversation, rather than ending it. "You live nearby?" Michael asked finally. "Just a few houses down," Lucas said, gesturing vaguely. "Rented place. Small but cozy." "That's good," Michael replied. "A place doesn't have to be big to feel like home." Lucas nodded, appreciating the sincerity in those words. "What about you?" "I've been here for a while," Michael said. "Work keeps me indoors most days. So this porch is where I get my sunlight." Lucas smiled. "At least it's a nice porch." "It is," Michael said with a low chuckle. "Would you like to sit for a moment? If you have time." Lucas wasn't sure why he hesitated. He didn't usually stop to talk to strangers. But something about Michael felt safe, grounded. Like sitting with him wouldn't be a mistake. "Sure," he said softly. Michael gestured to the empty chair beside him, and Lucas took a seat, resting his elbows on his knees. The neighborhood around them was quiet. The air smelled faintly of jasmine from a nearby plant. A gentle breeze brushed past, cooling the warmth of the day. "So," Michael said, "tell me about these games you love so much." That was all Lucas needed. His entire face lit up. He talked about the worlds he visited, fantasy lands, racing tracks, battle arenas. He explained strategies, characters, stories. While he spoke, Michael listened with genuine interest, nodding occasionally, asking thoughtful questions. To Michael, watching Lucas talk was like watching a sunrise, full of color and energy. He couldn't help but admire how alive the young man became when speaking about something he loved. It made Michael feel something he hadn't felt in years, a pull toward someone's spirit, not just their words. "You're passionate," Michael said eventually. Lucas shrugged, embarrassed. "Maybe too passionate." "No," Michael said gently. "Passion is one of the most beautiful things a person can have." Lucas looked at him then, really looked at him. For the first time he noticed the depth in Michael's eyes. They weren't just older, they were wise. And kind. They held a softness that made Lucas feel strangely seen. He looked away quickly, feeling warmth creep up his neck. "Well," Lucas said, clearing his throat, "I should get going before it gets dark." "Of course," Michael said softly. "But, if you ever feel like talking again, I'm usually here." Lucas stood up, feeling something unexpected, a small tug in his chest. "Maybe I'll stop by again." "I'd like that," Michael said, his voice quiet but sincere. Lucas began walking again, but after a few steps he glanced back. Michael was still watching him, not intensely, not possessively, but with a gentle fondness that lingered in the warm evening air. It was just a simple encounter. A short conversation. Nothing more. Yet both men walked away from it with a feeling they hadn't expected. A small spark, a soft curiosity, the beginning of something that neither fully understood yet. But both felt it. The first encounter had happened, and it was only the beginning. The next few days passed quietly, yet neither Lucas nor Michael stopped thinking about that brief conversation on the porch. For Lucas, it was the first time in a long while that he felt genuinely listened to, not just humored or tolerated but listened to. And for Michael, the young man's presence had stirred something warm inside him, something he had buried under years of solitude. On the fourth evening after their encounter, Lucas found himself slowing again as he approached the familiar porch. He wasn't sure whether Michael would be there. Part of him told himself not to expect anything, another part hoped quietly. And there he was. Michael sat in the same wooden chair, glasses low on his nose, this time typing on a laptop rather than reading. When he saw Lucas approaching, his face brightened in a way so subtle yet unmistakably genuine. "You came again," Michael said, closing the laptop gently. "You said I could," Lucas replied, slightly shy. "And I still mean it. Sit." Lucas nodded, taking the same seat as before. The evening was cooler today, with clouds drifting lazily overhead. The scent of jasmine was stronger, mixed with the earthy smell that comes after a light drizzle. "How was your day?" Michael asked. "Good," Lucas said. "Long work was boring. I've been waiting to get home so I could play a new game that came out." Michael smiled. "You really do love your games." Lucas laughed softly. "Yeah, they're kind of my escape." Michael studied him for a moment, his expression thoughtful but soft. "You know, that used to be reading for me. Books, worlds inside pages. They helped me through a lot." "So we're both escape artists," Lucas joked. Michael chuckled, a gentle, warm sound. "Maybe so." There was a moment of silence before Michael leaned back and asked, "What kind of games do you play the most?" Lucas's eyes lit up again, that spark returning instantly. "Mostly RPGs, adventure, some shooters. But honestly, I play almost anything." "RPGs," Michael repeated, tilting his head. "Role-playing, right?" "Yeah. You take on a character and explore a full world. Stories, decisions, quests, everything feels alive." Michael nodded slowly, trying to connect. "Sounds immersive." "It is," Lucas said. "Actually, wait a second." He pulled his phone from his pocket and leaned closer, showing Michael a screenshot from his latest game. Two characters stood on a cliff overlooking a glowing virtual landscape. "This is one of my favorites," Lucas said, excitement in his voice. Michael squinted slightly, partly because of the screen brightness, partly because he found himself noticing the nearness of the young man. Lucas's shoulder grazed his arm lightly. The innocent contact sent a quiet warmth through him, though he kept his expression calm. "That looks beautiful," Michael said sincerely. "Like a painting." "It really is," Lucas said. "You can explore every corner freely. Look." He swiped through more screenshots, explaining each scene enthusiastically. Michael listened, not pretending to understand everything but appreciating the passion. The way Lucas talked made the worlds feel almost real. "You know," Michael said after a moment, "I haven't played a video game since, maybe 20 years ago." Lucas's eyes widened. 20? Seriously? Michael laughed softly. "Yes. Back then computers were slower. And I wasn't very coordinated." "That doesn't matter," Lucas said with sudden brightness. "It's never too late to try again. Michael raised an eyebrow, amused. Do you think I could? Lucas nodded firmly. Absolutely. Anyone can. You might even enjoy it. Michael's smile grew, a small, private expression. You really think so? Yeah, Lucas said. But, you need a decent computer. Games these days are heavy. Michael leaned back, looking slightly embarrassed. Actually, I might have something. You have a gaming PC? Lucas asked, surprised. Not exactly, Michael said. But I do have a powerful computer I use for work. High processing power, good graphics. I think it should handle games. Lucas blinked. Wait, seriously? You never told me you had a good system. You never asked, Michael replied with a teasing softness. Lucas laughed lightly. Fair point. Michael hesitated for a second, then spoke carefully. If you want, someday you could check it out. See if it's suitable for gaming. Lucas looked at him, really looked, and found sincerity in the older man's warm eyes. I'd like that, he said quietly. The conversation shifted after that, flowing effortlessly. They talked about music, their routines, favorite foods, and the little things that made up their days. Each discovery was like finding another small bridge between them. Lucas learned that Michael worked from home as a freelance editor, often spending long hours in quiet concentration. Michael learned that Lucas's family lived in another city, and he sent them money whenever he could. You're responsible, Michael said. That's admirable. Lucas shrugged shyly. I try. And you succeed, Michael replied softly. That warmth in Lucas's chest returned, unfamiliar, unexpected, but not unpleasant. As twilight deepened, Lucas's phone buzzed with a reminder. I should head back soon. I promised a friend I'd log in for an online match. Of course, Michael said, though a hint of disappointment touched his voice. Before you go. He reached inside and pulled out a small notebook. What's that? Lucas asked. Something I use for work, Michael said. But inside is a sketch I made once. He flipped it open and showed Lucas a pencil drawing, a quiet forest scene, sunlight breaking through the leaves. You drew this? Lucas asked softly. Yes. It's beautiful. Michael's eyes softened. I used to draw a lot. Maybe I'll show you more someday. I'd like that, Lucas said honestly. When he stood to leave, Michael said, Lucas. Yes. I enjoyed talking with you again. Lucas smiled, a real one, not the small polite ones he usually gave strangers. Me too. And if you want to test the computer, Michael added, clearing his throat lightly, you can come by any time. Lucas's eyes brightened with surprise and a hint of excitement. Really? Really? Then, maybe I'll come tomorrow, Lucas said. Michael's expression warmed visibly. I'll be here. Lucas walked away, a quiet happiness settling inside him. And Michael watched him go with a gentle smile, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, anticipation. Two lives that had once been separate were beginning to weave together. Not because they planned it, but because, without even realizing it, they had begun discovering each other. The next afternoon, Lucas found himself standing in front of Michael's gate earlier than expected. He had told himself he would visit, sometime in the evening, but his feet had carried him there long before sunset. It surprised him, though not unpleasantly. Something about Michael's calm presence made him feel grounded, like he had discovered a quiet place in the world that finally made sense. He took a breath, lifted his hand, and knocked gently on the wooden frame of the porch. Come in. Michael's voice called warmly. Lucas stepped through and found Michael adjusting a small plant on his porch table. The older man looked up and smiled, the kind of smile that softened the lines on his face and made his eyes glow faintly behind his glasses. You came, Michael said, sounding genuinely pleased. I said I would, Lucas replied, a little shy. And I'm glad you did. Michael gestured inside. Come. The computer's set up. Lucas followed him into the house for the first time. The interior was exactly what he had imagined. Warm lighting, shelves of books, framed sketches, plants in corners, and an atmosphere that felt quietly lived in. There was a sense of order but not strictness. Everything had a place, yet nothing felt rigid. You have a nice house, Lucas said, looking around. Thank you, Michael replied with modesty. It's simple, but it's mine. Lucas nodded. He admired that. He hoped someday he would also have a place that truly felt like home. Michael led him to a room at the back, not large but comfortable. A sturdy desk held a sleek computer setup, high-resolution monitor, quiet running tower, and an ergonomic chair. It wasn't flashy like gaming rigs Lucas had seen online, but it was powerful. He could tell instantly from the specs on the screensaver. This is great, Lucas breathed. Definitely strong enough for gaming. I'm happy to hear that, Michael said gently. Would you like to install something? Maybe show me one of the games you like. Lucas's excitement flickered to life. Really? You want to learn? Michael chuckled softly. I can try. No promises. Oh, trust me, Lucas said, already clicking through menus. I can teach anyone. And you're confident? Michael teased lightly. Not in everything, Lucas murmured, eyes fixed on the loading screen. But in games, yeah. While the game downloaded, they talked, naturally, comfortably, like two people who had known each other longer than they actually had. Lucas told him about his job at the electronics store. How the shifts were long, how customers could be rude, but how he liked the technology side of it. Michael listened with genuine interest, occasionally offering small comments or nods that encouraged Lucas to continue. Michael spoke a little about his work, too, editing manuscripts, helping writers refine their stories. Lucas had never met someone who worked in such a quiet, creative field, and he found himself fascinated by it. So you're basically fixing people's stories? Lucas asked. Not fixing, Michael corrected gently. Guiding. Helping them see what they might have missed. Lucas smiled. You're good at that. How would you know? Because you listen, Lucas replied simply. Michael looked away for a moment, touched by the unexpected compliment. The game finally finished downloading and Lucas pulled the chair closer to the screen. This one's easy to start with, he said. Movement, exploring, simple combat. You'll pick it up. Michael sat beside him in another chair, watching the young man's hands as they moved confidently across the controls. At first, Michael was stiff, awkward, pressing the wrong keys, making the character spin in circles. But Lucas didn't laugh. He guided him with patient instructions, leaning in occasionally to help him adjust his fingers. You're getting it, Lucas said encouragingly. I feel like an old man learning to ride a bicycle again, Michael muttered. You're not doing as bad as you think, Lucas replied with a grin. As Michael slowly improved, Lucas found himself glancing at the older man's face more often than he should. There was something mesmerizing about the concentration in Michael's eyes, the way he furrowed his brows when he focused, the warm curve of his smile when he succeeded. They played for a while, switching turns, sharing laughter when Michael accidentally ran the character into a wall, and celebrating small victories together. Hours passed without either of them noticing. When they finally paused the game, Lucas stretched his arms above his head. That was fun, he said. Michael nodded. More fun than I expected. And you picked it up really fast. That is entirely thanks to my excellent teacher, Michael said with a gentle smile. Lucas felt warmth rise in his cheeks. Do you want some tea? Michael asked. Yeah, Lucas replied. That'd be great. They moved to the kitchen where Michael boiled water and prepared 2 cups of fragrant tea. Lucas leaned against the counter, watching him, noticing the small details again, the way Michael's hands moved carefully, the way his shoulders relaxed when he was comfortable. You know, Michael said, placing the cups on the table, I don't usually have company. Me neither, Lucas admitted quietly. Not like this. Michael looked at him gently, his expression softening. I'm glad you came into my life, Lucas. Lucas wasn't expecting the words. They hit him almost physically, warm, tender, meaningful. He looked down at his cup, fingers tightening around the ceramic. I'm glad too, he said softly. They sat for a while, sipping tea, talking about light things, movies, music, small memories from childhood. But beneath every word lay a growing sense of trust, a bond forming carefully, delicately, almost unnoticed yet undeniably present. When Lucas finally stood to leave, Michael walked him to the door. Same time tomorrow? Lucas asked before he could stop himself. Michael's smile deepened. I'd like that. Lucas turned to go, but Michael called his name gently. Lucas. Yes. Thank you for sharing your world with me today. Lucas held his gaze for a moment, a long moment, longer than necessary, filled with unspoken warmth. You're part of it now, he said quietly. If you want to be. Michael's eyes softened with emotion. I want to be. Lucas walked away into the night, his heart feeling strangely full. Michael watched him until he disappeared around the corner, a softness in his gaze he hadn't felt in years. Their friendship was growing, not rushed, not forced, but slowly, naturally, beautifully. And neither of them fully knew it yet, but something deeper was unfolding between them, piece by piece, moment by moment. The routine began to form slowly, almost unconsciously. Every evening Lucas would finish his work shift, grab a quick snack, and then take that familiar walk toward Michael's house. And every evening Michael would be waiting, sometimes reading, sometimes working, sometimes simply sitting quietly with a cup of tea as if saving a place in the day just for him. Their time together grew in length and meaning. They played games, shared stories, cooked simple meals, and spent long quiet moments just existing in the same space. Michael learned the names of Lucas's favorite game characters. Lucas learned which teas Michael liked best. And though neither admitted it aloud, each man looked forward to these evenings more than anything else in their day. Yet under all the laughter and conversation, there was something else too, something delicate and unspoken. A warmth, a closeness, a question waiting in silence. It was about a month after Lucas first stepped into Michael's house that something finally shifted between them. That evening, the clouds were heavy, and the soft rumble of distant thunder echoed through the sky. Rain began to fall in thin sheets, tapping against the windows like a gentle rhythm. Lucas, already inside Michael's home, shook the droplets off his jacket and placed it on a hook near the entrance. "Good thing you came before the rain," Michael said, wiping his hands on a towel after watering a plant. "Yeah," Lucas smiled. "Your house is my shelter now." The words slipped out naturally and Michael paused, just for a second, as if struck by the softness in Lucas's voice. But he only nodded, hiding the depth of his reaction. "I'm happy it feels that way," he said quietly. They went to the computer room, but tonight neither seemed fully focused on gaming. Lucas played absent-mindedly, his fingers tapping the keys, while Michael watched him with quiet fondness, chin resting on his hand. "You're distracted today," Michael said gently. Lucas sighed. "Yeah, maybe a little." "Something on your mind?" Lucas hesitated. "You ever feel like something's changing but you don't know how to talk about it?" Michael's heart tightened. "Yes," he said softly. "I feel that way often these days." Lucas's eyes shifted to him, searching, trying to read the emotion behind those words. But neither pushed further, both unsure how to step into the unspoken space between them. After a moment, Lucas paused the game. "Let's take a break," he said. Michael nodded and stood. They moved to the living room, where the sound of rain filled the silence between them. The room felt different tonight, quieter, heavier, as if waiting for something important to be said. Lucas sank onto the sofa, folding one leg beneath him. Michael sat beside him, not too close, not too far, the exact distance of someone who cared deeply but didn't want to cross a line without permission. For a long moment, the rain was the only sound. Finally, Lucas broke the silence. "I've been thinking," he said softly, eyes fixed on the window, "about us." Michael's breath caught. "Us?" "Yeah." Lucas swallowed. "I don't know when it started, but spending time with you feels different now. In a good way. In a way I didn't expect." Michael's fingers tightened slightly on the edge of the sofa. "Lucas? I'm not saying I understand everything I'm feeling," Lucas continued, his voice gentle but trembling with sincerity. "But I know this, when I'm here I feel safe. And when I'm not here," he paused, breathing in deeply. "I miss you." Michael closed his eyes for a brief second. He had wanted to hear those words for weeks, yet now that they were spoken, they felt heavier and more precious than he imagined. "I miss you too," Michael said, voice almost a whisper. Lucas looked at him fully then, the older man's gentle eyes, the faint worry in them, the care that always rested behind his expression. Something inside him softened. "Michael," Lucas said, "I know there's an age difference. I know people might not understand. But I don't care about that. What matters to me is how I feel when I'm with you." Michael gently exhaled, as if releasing something he had been holding in for too long. "I've tried not to think about my feelings," he admitted quietly. "I told myself it was enough just to spend time with you. That your friendship was more than I deserved." "Don't say that," Lucas whispered. Michael looked down, hands clasped together. "I'm older. I've lived more life. I was afraid of wanting something that might make you uncomfortable." "You never made me uncomfortable," Lucas said immediately. "If anything, you make me feel understood." Michael lifted his gaze and their eyes met, not briefly, not casually, but deeply, like two truths finally touching. The moment stretched, warm and fragile. "Lucas," Michael said softly, "I care about you more than I meant to, more than I expected to." Lucas's breath trembled. "I care about you too." The confession sat between them, glowing like a small flame. Neither man moved closer immediately. They simply held each other's gaze, letting the honesty of the moment settle, letting the walls they had both carried for years slowly begin to ease. Michael spoke again, voice quiet but firm. "I don't want to rush anything. I don't want to cross any line you're not ready for." Lucas shook his head gently. "You're not crossing anything. I came here because I wanted to be with you. I keep coming back because something about you feels right. Michael's eyes softened with emotion. Then maybe, he said, we're both feeling the same thing. Lucas nodded. For a long time they sat like that, the rain whispering against the windows, the soft light casting shadows on their faces, their hands resting near each other on the sofa, close enough to touch but not yet touching. Finally, Lucas let his fingers slide just slightly toward Michael's, not grabbing, not demanding, simply offering a quiet question. Michael responded by gently placing his hand over Lucas's, warm and steady. The room felt fuller suddenly, not with sound but with understanding, with a connection they were no longer pretending not to feel. No kiss. No rush. Just a quiet promise held in the joining of their hands. When Lucas finally spoke, his voice was almost a whisper. So, what happens now? Michael smiled softly, affection glowing in his eyes. Now, he said, we keep being honest. We go slowly. We learn each other. And we see where this leads. Lucas nodded, leaning slightly closer, resting his shoulder against Michael's arm, gentle, trusting. I think, Lucas murmured, it's already leading somewhere. Michael looked at him, eyes warm. Yes, he whispered. I think so too. Their feelings were no longer a secret. The truth had been spoken softly but clearly. And now their relationship, whatever it might become, had finally begun. The days following their quiet confession felt different. Softer, slower, filled with an awareness neither quite knew how to name yet. Nothing dramatic changed at first. They still drank tea, played games, talked about their days, laughed at small things. But everything carried a new warmth, like a thin golden thread weaving through each moment. Lucas noticed the change most in the silence. Before, silence had simply been a pause. Now it felt like a space where something tender lived, an invitation instead of emptiness. He thought about it often, usually late at night after he walked home from Michael's house. He would lie on his small bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. The honesty in Michael's voice, the warm pressure of his hand, the gentleness in his eyes. It surprised him how deeply it all affected him. He had expected to feel confused or uncertain. Instead, he felt steady, like something inside him had quietly found the direction it had been searching for. Still, he hadn't said everything he wanted to say. His confession had been sincere but incomplete. There was more, but he needed time to understand his own heart before speaking it aloud. And that moment came sooner than he expected. A cool breeze brushed against the air as evening fell. Lucas had spent the entire day feeling strangely restless, not anxious but full. Full of things he wanted to say, full of warmth he didn't know how to contain. He walked faster than usual toward Michael's house, each step guided by something deeper than habit. When he reached the porch, Michael was there as always, sitting with a cup of tea, a soft smile forming the moment he saw him. Lucas, Michael greeted, voice warm as dusk. You look like you ran here. Maybe I did, Lucas breathed, slightly out of breath. Can I come in? Of course. He followed Michael inside. The house smelled like cardamom tea and lavender, comforting, familiar, like a second home. They went to the living room and Lucas sat down quickly, almost urgently. Michael noticed. Is everything all right? Yeah, Lucas said, nodding. More than all right. I've been thinking. Michael sat beside him, not touching but close enough to feel his presence. Tell me. Lucas took a breath, not to steady himself, but to gather the words that had been building inside him for days. When we talked earlier, about feelings, he paused, his eyes flickering downward. I meant what I said. Completely. But I didn't say everything. Michael listened intently, giving him the space he needed. Lucas continued, voice softer now. I've been trying to understand what this is inside me. I've never really felt this way before. Not like this. Not this strong. But every night when I leave your house I keep thinking about you. And every morning, the first thing I wish is that it was already evening so I could come back. Michael's expression softened with emotion. Lucas kept going, words tumbling gently from his heart. I didn't expect someone like you to become so important to me. You're older, wiser, calmer, everything I'm not. But when I'm with you, I feel like I'm becoming a better version of myself just by sitting next to you. Silence fell, thick with meaning. Michael's voice was quiet when he spoke. Lucas, you don't have to say all this unless you're sure. I am sure, Lucas said firmly this time. That's the thing. I thought I'd be confused or scared. But I'm not. I feel right. Like this is where I'm meant to be. Michael looked away briefly, overwhelmed by the sincerity in those words. I never wanted to influence you. Or pressure you. Your feelings matter to me, but only if they're truly yours. They are, Lucas said softly. They're mine. And I want to say it properly this time. Michael turned back toward him. Lucas met his gaze, steady and warm. I care about you, Michael, deeply. More than I thought I could care about anyone. You make me feel safe and seen and appreciated. And when I think about the future, you're in it. Michael's breath caught, emotion rising behind his eyes. Lucas continued, his voice trembling with honesty. I don't know what love is supposed to feel like. But if it feels anything like the way my chest warms when you smile at me, or how the world feels softer when you say my name, then I think I'm heading toward it. With you. Michael closed his eyes for a moment, overwhelmed. When he opened them again, they gleamed with tenderness. Lucas, he murmured, you don't know how long I've wanted to hear those words, and feared hearing them at the same time. Why fear? Lucas whispered. Because I didn't want to become someone who takes too much space in your life, Michael admitted. You're young. You have so much ahead of you. I was afraid of being an anchor instead of a shelter. Lucas shook his head immediately. You're not an anchor. You're the place I feel most myself. Their eyes held each other in a way that spoke more than words ever could. Slowly, carefully, Lucas reached for Michael's hand again, the same quiet gesture he had made the night of their confession. This time, though, his grip was firmer, more certain. I want this, Lucas said. I want us. Not rushed. Not hidden. Just real. Michael's fingers curled around his, warm and steady. Then you have me, Michael said softly. Not just my feelings, but my trust. My care. All of me. Lucas exhaled a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Good, he whispered. Because I want all of that. They moved a little closer, not closing the distance completely but close enough that their shoulders brushed. Lucas leaned lightly against Michael, and Michael leaned back, matching him, trusting the fragile, growing intimacy between them. For several minutes they sat like that, no rush, no expectations. Just the feeling of being near each other, breathing the same air, sharing the same warmth. Finally, Lucas whispered, I'm not confused anymore, Michael. I know what I feel. Michael turned his head slightly toward him. And what do you feel? Lucas smiled, soft and sure. Something real. Something strong. Something that matters. Michael's eyes softened until they looked almost liquid with affection. Then we'll protect it, he said. Together. Lucas nodded and rested his head briefly on Michael's shoulder, a gentle, trusting gesture. And in that simple moment, something shifted quietly inside both of them. The truth had been spoken. The young man had responded with clarity, certainty, and warmth. And their hearts, no longer tentative, began beating in the same direction. The days that followed felt brighter, fuller, as if the world had quietly adjusted itself around their new truth. Nothing outwardly dramatic happened. No grand announcements, no sudden change in routine. But inside their private world, everything felt different. There was a softness between them now, a warmth always present, even in silence. Their friendship no longer felt like a bridge leading somewhere, it had finally arrived at a shared place, a mutual understanding. And in that place something beautiful began to grow. One evening, about a week after Lucas's confession, Michael invited him over earlier than usual. I made something special today, he said over the phone, his voice carrying a playful warmth that made Lucas smile without even trying. What is it? Lucas asked. You'll see when you get here. Come before sunset. Lucas's heart beat a little faster. He spent extra time getting ready, not too obvious but enough that he noticed himself caring. He wore his favorite shirt, fixed his hair twice, and took the longer, scenic route just so he could breathe through the excitement rising in him. When he reached the door, Michael opened it almost instantly as if he had been standing there, waiting. You're early, Michael teased gently. You said to come early, Lucas replied. I did, Michael admitted, stepping aside to let him in. I guess I was hoping you would. The atmosphere inside felt unusually warm. The curtains were drawn back, letting the golden light of the setting sun fill the house. On the dining table sat 2 plates, 2 glasses, and a meal that smelled like home. Spices, warmth, something cooked slowly with care. You cooked? Lucas asked, surprised and touched. Michael smiled sheepishly. Tried to. I'm not sure how it tastes, but I wanted to do something for us. The simple word made Lucas's chest tighten in the best way. They ate together, talking about everything and nothing, work, small memories, stupid jokes. But beneath each laugh and each glance, there was a quiet electricity neither could ignore. Lucas liked the way Michael looked at him now, like he was something precious, something worth holding on to. After dinner, Michael said, "Come to the roof with me?" The sky was a deep blue as night approached. The first stars were beginning to reveal themselves, peeking through the fading sunlight. A gentle breeze stirred the air, carrying the cool promise of night. They sat side by side on two old chairs Michael had placed there years ago, chairs that now felt like they were meant for exactly this moment. For a while they simply watched the sky. Then quietly Michael said, "You know, I didn't think my life would feel this alive again." Lucas turned to him. "What do you mean?" Michael's eyes softened as he searched for words. "I've spent so many years just living, working, existing. I didn't realize how much of myself had gone quiet. And then you came along, and suddenly everything is brighter, louder, warmer. I feel like I'm waking up again." Lucas's heart tightened with emotion. "I'm glad I could bring something good into your life." "You brought a lot," Michael said, his voice low and sincere. "More than you know." Lucas looked away for a moment, overwhelmed, then asked softly, "Can I say something?" Michael nodded. "I feel it too," Lucas said. "Being with you, it feels like I'm finally learning who I am. You make me feel steady. Say. Like I'm not just drifting through life alone." Michael reached out slowly, giving Lucas plenty of time to pull back if he wanted. But Lucas didn't pull back. Their fingers intertwined, fitting together like something that had been destined long before they met. The night grew darker, the stars brighter. Lucas shifted his chair a little closer, their knees almost touching now. A comfortable silence settled between them, filled with the unspoken understanding that whatever this was, it was real, and growing. After a long pause, Lucas said, "Can I ask you something?" "Anything," Michael replied. "Are you ever afraid?" Lucas asked. "About us, I mean." Michael inhaled slowly. "Sometimes. Not because I doubt what we have, but because I'm older. I've seen how life can complicate things. I want to protect what we're building. I want to protect you." Lucas's voice was gentle. "You don't need to protect me from your feelings." Michael turned his head fully toward him now, his gaze soft but intense. "I know, but I care about you deeply. I don't want to be someone who hurts you or holds you back." "You won't," Lucas said firmly. "If anything, you're helping me grow." Michael's expression softened with a tenderness Lucas felt all the way down to his heartbeat. Carefully, almost hesitantly, Lucas leaned his head against Michael's shoulder, a simple gesture of trust, comfort, and closeness. Michael didn't move at first, as if savoring the feeling, then slowly rested his cheek against Lucas's hair. Their joined hands rested between them, warm and steady. Time moved slowly around them, like the night wanted to make room for their moment. After what felt like a long, peaceful stretch, Lucas whispered, "I don't want this to fade. I don't want it to be something temporary." "It doesn't have to be," Michael whispered back. "We'll take it slow. We'll be honest. We'll care for each other. That's how things last." Lucas lifted his head to look at him. Their faces were close now, closer than they had ever been. The faint starlight shimmered in Michael's eyes. "Michael," Lucas breathed, voice heavy with something tender. "Yes," Michael whispered. "I think I'm falling for you." Michael's breath caught, his eyes softening with emotion. He didn't rush, didn't lean in too fast. He simply lifted a hand and gently cupped the side of Lucas's face, warm, steady, protective. "You're not alone," Michael murmured. "I'm falling too." Lucas's chest felt full of something bright and overwhelming. He leaned into the touch, letting his eyes flutter shut for a moment. They didn't kiss, not yet. It wasn't time. But the closeness, the breath they shared, the quiet promise in the air, it was enough. More than enough. The night wrapped around them like a soft blanket, and the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, as if blessing the beginning of something deep and lasting. In that gentle starlit quiet, their relationship deepened, not through grand gestures but through small truths spoken softly, through warm hands held tightly, through two hearts choosing each other with patience and sincerity. And as they sat together on the roof, letting the world fade around them, both knew. This wasn't just a moment. It was the start of something that could last a lifetime. The change between them had been subtle, like the slow brightening of dawn. Neither Lucas nor Michael rushed anything. They didn't need to. Every moment they shared brought them closer in ways that felt natural, comforting, and deeply right. But now, as weeks turned into months, a quiet but important question rose between them. Were they ready to choose each other fully? Not just in moments, but in life. It was Lucas who first noticed the shift. One evening after work he found himself automatically walking toward Michael's house. Not because it was routine but because it felt like home. Every step closer made his heart light. Every sound from the familiar street made him smile. By the time he reached Michael's door, he already knew he wasn't just visiting anymore. He was returning. Michael opened the door before Lucas even knocked. "You always sense when I'm here," Lucas said with a small laugh. "I hear your footsteps," Michael said softly. "They're different from anyone else's." The simple line made Lucas's chest warm. "Different good. Different familiar," Michael answered, eyes gentle. "Like something I look forward to without meaning to." They stood there for a moment, neither quite stepping inside nor stepping back. Something hovered in the air, a kind of sweet suspense. Michael finally stepped aside. "Come in." Lucas nodded and walked inside, feeling once again the warmth of a home that had begun to feel like partly his. They settled in the living room. Lucas dropped his bag on the floor, leaned back on the sofa and sighed. "Long day?" Michael asked. "Yeah, but it got better once I got here." Michael paused, his expression softening. "Lucas, you always say things that stay with me longer than you realize." Lucas glanced at him. "Good things, I hope?" "The best," Michael said. Silence settled again, but the comfortable kind. Lucas noticed something new in Michael's posture. A mix of anticipation and hesitation, like a man thinking deeply but unsure where to begin. "Michael," Lucas asked gently, "is something on your mind?" Michael looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Yes, something important." Lucas sat up straighter. "Tell me." Michael took a slow breath, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I've been thinking about us. About what we're building." Lucas's pulse quickened, but he stayed quiet, letting Michael speak. "You've become a part of my life in ways I never expected," Michael continued. "In ways I didn't think were possible anymore. And every day I find myself imagining more." "More?" Lucas repeated softly. Michael met his gaze. "More time together. More honesty. More future." Lucas's breath caught. "I know I'm older," Michael said, "and I don't want that to be a reason you hold back. I don't want to be someone you choose just for now. Lucas, you deserve someone who walks with you, not someone you feel you have to slow down for." Lucas's eyebrows pulled together, surprised and touched by the vulnerability in the older man's words. "You talk like you're holding me back," Lucas said gently. "You're not. You've never been." Michael shook his head. "I just want you to choose freely. Without pressure. Without fear. If you choose me, I want it to be because your heart knows this is where it belongs." Lucas inhaled deeply. He felt the weight of Michael's sincerity, heavy but beautiful. And he knew he needed to answer with equal honesty. "Michael," he began softly, "can I tell you something I've been thinking too?" "Of course," Michael said. Lucas shifted closer, his voice low but sure. "For weeks now, every day when I'm at work or with friends, there's this one thought that keeps coming to me." "What thought?" Michael asked, his voice almost a whisper. "That I miss you," Lucas said. "Not in a dramatic way. Just, constantly. Like a quiet pull inside me. Like something in me recognizes that I belong next to you." Emotion flickered across Michael's face. "And when I walk here," Lucas continued, "it doesn't feel like I'm going to someone else's home. It feels like I'm coming back to my own place." Michael exhaled shakily, moved more than he could hide. "Lucas?" "I choose you," Lucas said firmly but gently. "Not because I'm young or confused or looking for something temporary. I choose you because you make me feel safe. Because you listen. Because you understand me. And because when I think about who I want to walk with in life, the first face I see is yours." Michael pressed his lips together, trying to steady the emotion rising in him. Lucas smiled softly. "You don't have to be afraid of being chosen. And you're not pulling me back. You're grounding me." Michael swallowed, his voice warm and trembling. "And you're giving me back parts of myself I thought I lost." Lucas reached out slowly, taking Michael's hand, warm, familiar, and steady. For a long moment, they simply held each other's gaze, their hands entwined between them like a quiet promise. "Lucas," Michael murmured, "if we're choosing each other, really choosing each other, then let's do it fully. With honesty. With patience. With intention." Lucas nodded. "I want that." Michael squeezed his hand gently. "Then we will move forward together. No rush. No fear. Just trust." Lucas leaned forward, resting his forehead lightly against Michael's, a tender, quiet, intimate gesture. "I trust you," he whispered. "More than anyone." "And I trust you," Michael whispered back. They stayed there like that, foreheads touching, breaths mingling, letting the moment shape itself around them. It didn't need grand declarations. It didn't need dramatic scenes. Just this. Two people who had walked different paths now choosing, with full hearts, to walk forward together. After a long, peaceful pause, Lucas murmured, "So, what happens now?" Michael smiled softly. "Now we build. Slowly. Honestly. And we keep choosing each other every day." Lucas smiled back. "I can do that." Michael brushed a thumb against his hand. "So can I." And in that quiet living room with soft lamplight glowing around them, their choice settled gently into the air. A choice not just of romance, but of trust, companionship, and the promise of a future shaped by two hearts walking the same direction. They had chosen each other. And this time the choice wasn't tentative. It was solid, steady, real. A beginning that felt like forever.